Nice having you here, and in today's video we're going to be looking at how to create this particular dashboard right on your screen. It's something very simple, and I'm going to show you how to actually get this created. Let us focus on this particular part right here. If you look at it right now, it reflects April 2009 total revenue, and over here, if I actually select May right now, it's going to give me the revenue for May 2009, and we can decide to say it based on 2008. So we have the last month revenue and the last year revenue, and as well we have the year-over-year change and the month-over-month change right here. Another beautiful part is this particular part of the KPI where we can actually choose different view like the quarter, the seasonality, and the week type, plus the trend and as well the week names right here. Can you see it right now? So over here, we are looking at underperforming brands. We can decide to switch to top performing brands. And we can decide to step into Contoso and look at what are those particular products under Contoso and how they are doing. Let's do that right now. Go to product details and click on OK. Now we have here, one of the beautiful part of this particular part is that over here, it actually shows that we are actually coming from Contoso product brand. And if we go back right now and decide to actually go through this particular category part here, we can decide to actually drill through from computers, and we do that and we go over here. So now it shows us where we actually drill through from. So one of the beautiful part of this particular table is that we can decide to sort it based on what we want to actually look at. So let's go over to the sort table here. And over here, this is sorted as, transaction. So we can decide to sort based on total refund rate over here. So if you look at it right now, we have this particular part which has to do with the refund rate. And the more I go down right now, the more the red starts kind of fainting. That shows over here we have low refund rate. Refund rate has to do with the money we return back to customers when they return some couple of products back to us, right? So the sorting can be done by revenue. So now here, the highest revenue products will actually be filtered, and you see how much we've made through them. It's something very simple. I'm going to show you how to actually create something just like this. If you want to actually create this, all you have to do is to make sure you just subscribe and download the resources file, and let us walk through this particular project together. If you work in an office or you work as a freelancer, or working from home as a data analyst, you will be receiving messages that looks just like what I have on my screen right now. So all you have to do is to read through it, and after that you request for a meeting with the owner of the data if he or she is your client. If it's your boss, you have to actually talk him through how this could actually be achieved. Both of you would put head together to make sure this comes into reality. So all you have to do right now is to make sure you read through what you have right here by opening your PDF to actually look at it and see what you're going to actually get into. The next thing right now is to create what I call rough work or sketching. So you can do that on paper, and right away I have it done inside PowerPoint. So what you can see right here is how I want my dashboard to look inside Power BI. So I want to have a logo at the top left-hand corner and the dashboard title plus reporting year or reporting date. Then the next thing is for me to have this particular giant card right here, and inside it is going to be a KPI. This very KPI would capture the revenue, the last year and last month, change as well. Then the next thing is going to be this one that actually has some couple of charts like the quarter, month, the week type, the weekday, and the seasonal sales. So the next thing is for me to have a navigator or navigation that will actually help me to switch between different charts inside this particular KPI card. Very important. We have set this particular expectation, and we're going to follow it to create our dashboard. The next one is going to be this very part right here, where we actually have top and bottom brands, and we're going to be having a navigator or navigation that will actually help us to switch between the top and as well the bottom or the underperformed brands. Next is actually this particular category chart right here based on total revenue. And over here is going to be a slicer, and this slicer will be month slicer. And finally, it's going to be this particular part right here where we actually have our year slicer right in. This is what we are going to be creating. All we have to do is to make sure we follow it when we get to Power BI and give this particular rough work right here live. Right. The very first thing you need to do is to make sure you unzip this particular data set for practice here, and you're going to have to keep this particular sales and this particular product category here. So we have more tables inside this particular one. And if you look at this now, this particular file, which is this very one right here, is actually an Excel workbook, while this one is a database from Access, right? So let's see how we can get this particular data in. So over here, we are inside Power BI desktop. So as you can see, we can actually get data from Excel. And if what you're trying to actually get data from is not actually available, you can actually click on this particular part here to actually use other source. But in our own case, we want to get data from Excel workbook, so we can click over this one. So here we are, we have the product category. Just go ahead and click on open. So click over this particular last one here. Then go ahead and click on transform data. So right away, we have our first table in here. So what you can do right now is to check across and see which particular columns you want and which columns you don't want to keep, right? So what I'm going to do right now is to look at this here. I want to keep this. I can actually hold my control key to go over to this one. I want to keep this one here. So if you come over here now and look at this particular column and this particular column, so this particular one here is a duplicate of this very one. So this particular one here is a duplicate of this one. So for that, we don't have to keep both of them. We can get them off. So make sure you just scroll to this end here and see which other columns you want to keep. So I guess no column to be kept again. Once you have actually noticed that, you can actually go ahead and right click. Make sure you don't deselect the one selected and go ahead and say remove other columns. Can you see it right now? So what is this for? In case you can't find this particular, part on your own. So this is actually to help us check if the column we are looking at is 100% healthy, right? So how do you get this turned on? Go over to view, and over here, as you can see, it's checked. So if it is unchecked, you're going to see something like this. So turn this on. You can actually use column profile as well. So that actually tells you what a particular column contains. Right now, they're actually unique value, not duplicates, and this is what we have. Okay, once you're done, you can actually go ahead and have them hidden. So the next thing now is for we to get more data in here, and that will actually be going through this particular news source, which means we don't have to go back to Power BI desktop again. Okay, inside here right now, what you're trying to get data from is actually an Access database. So we can't actually find that in here for the first one shown to us. So if you look at this particular part now, it says more. So which means if we click on it right now, it's going to show us more sources we can connect to. All right, we are here. This is what we are looking for here. In case we can't find it and we have to look for it, just go ahead and click on database, because it's going to be under the group of databases that we have or that Power BI can connect to. And that way to find whatever you're looking for that you can spot immediately, you actually open this particular get data part is to make a search. Like if I search for Access right now, just adding 3 letters, I already have this up. So go ahead and click on it and make sure you click on connect. So click over here and click on open. All right, once you have this up right now, the very first thing I want you to actually look at is that we have lots of tables. So let me mark these particular tables we're going to be using. I think that's going to be this particular fact sales here. Then we're going to need this particular product, right here, and as well the category. So for the remaining one, which is this particular one, the promotion, the date, and as well the channel, we don't need to actually keep those ones as part of the tables we're going to be loading into our Power Query. So what do we do? Quickly make sure you tick and finally this very one. Once you're done, just go ahead and click on OK. All right, we have all those particular tables we just actually clicked on right in here. Let us start from this top one here. I think this is the one we have actually edited previously before now. And that is the product category. So I would love to rename this one to dim underscore categories. Right. So if you look at it right now, The reason why I named this one dim is that this is the dimension or the descriptive value that is very unique right here. Then over here now, you can leave this one as fact sales, or still you can change it to transaction. So this table has to do with a table where our daily transaction is being recorded into. You understand? So it has lots of duplicates. Take note of that. Okay, the next thing you have to actually do is actually go over to view, and now you turn on this particular column quality right here to look at the quality of this particular column. So why are you doing that? It's because we have, you know, lots of rows here. You can't actually talk about how many rows you have right there, but if you have to actually make a research to know how many rows from here, what you can do right now is to go over to this particular column profile. So let's see if this one can give us that. So we are looking out for count. So the count now, or no, it can't give us what we want. So what we can do right now, let me just go ahead and just select this one, is to go over to transform. On the transform, go over to this particular statistic here and choose this particular count value. All right, if you look at it right now, what this particular count value does is actually helping us to count how many rows we have inside this particular transactional table right here. That is actually, you know, 2.2 million rows right in here. A lot, right? Okay, once you're done, just go ahead and actually take the step off and you have your data back. So if you look at it right now, it says we have 19 columns, right? So what do? We need to start cleaning. So as you can see, this particular one here is the sales key. We don't need to keep the sales key. I'm going to actually get this particular one off. And the next thing now is the date key. This particular date key can be renamed to just date. Right? That is beautiful. The next thing I'm going to do right now is to actually click over here to change the data type, because what we have right now is date and time, and it's not healthy for the kind of data that we want to push into Power BI. So let's click over here now and click on just date. So this is the format we want to actually use. So for this particular channel key, we are going to look at this. Now we have how many channels? Okay, I think we don't even need to keep this. We don't want to analyze channel, so we can actually get this off. So getting something off here doesn't mean that is actually, you know, just off 100% and you never see it again. That is not what it is. If you want to actually bring it back right now, click on remove column right here, and what you're going to see is back. Can you see that now? So if you don't want any column, you can actually have it deleted from here. And the beautiful thing is this, I have deleted that right now. That is gonna be, bring this one here. So this is actually the channel key right here. So if I want to delete it, you can right click and say remove, or you can use the keyboard delete, right? So once that is gone, you can come over here and rename it so that whoever is going to utilize this particular report should understand what actually went at the back end here. So you can right click and click on rename. You understand? So channel key removed. Can you see it right now? This is how you can actually make things easy for yourself, but it's optional. If you want to do this, that is your own cup of tea. All right, the stock key here, the product key, again, promotion key, no, we're going to take this off, and the currency here, we're going to take it off. And if you look at it right now, we have lots of columns that we can actually keep on tracking to know which particular column we want to keep and which of those columns we want to actually get off. So to make it easy on ourselves, what we can do right now is to actually go through home, and from home you can see where it says this particular, you know, choose columns. Click over it and step into here and click on this particular choose columns here. So this will give you a nice view of all the columns you have inside your table. And from here now, I can actually deselect everything and start keeping those particular columns I want to use. So the first thing I'm going to do is to keep product key here. So the next thing is going to be going over to my date key. Okay, it's named as date key. We have to rename it later after all. I think I did that and I removed it. So return quantity here. So return amount. Return amount is actually right here. So for the sales amount, we want to calculate sales amount ourselves. They already calculated the sales amount, and with the return amount here, we don't need it. We can actually calculate our own, return amount if we want to. So I'm going to just use my measure to create this out myself. So for every other thing here, I don't need it. Just go ahead and click on OK. So as you can see, we just have few columns here. Let's do this again. Date should be formatted rightly, and this one should be called date. So nicely done, right? So once we are done with this now, the next thing we have to do is to make sure return quantity is here. We don't have quantity. So this is where stepping back into where we actually came from comes in. So how do you go back there? It's very simple. Make sure you click on home again, click over here and follow the same exact step. So now we are back here, and what we can see is just these few ones we kept. So what is going on right now? How can we fix this? That was because we have added more steps after we actually did that. So what we can do is to click over, remove other columns here, and actually step into this particular, settings icon, and that will actually open this back to us, right? So this is the sales quantity. I'm going to turn the sales quantity on. It's very important. And once I'm done, click on OK. And that updates this particular one for you. And if we come down right here right now, as you can see, it has actually reflected right here. You see that now? All right, the next thing is for you to step into this particular part here. First of all, have this particular part here updated. So I'm going to do here should be dim underscore subcategory. So quickly, we just want to go over to here, step in here. So now what do we want to keep here? So over here, you'd select every single thing, the product key here, the product subcategory name should be kept. I think those are the two I want to just keep, and I'll go ahead and click on OK. Right. The next thing is for me to step into my product. So under product here, the update we need to do is just actually put an underscore on this particular one. I just love it. So in case you don't know what dim is all about, it's actually dimension, the short form of dimension, which is a categorical value that is very unique. This particular table here is unique. It has no duplicate values, while this one has lots of duplicate values because this is where we record our daily transactions right in. And over here, it has to do with unique list of products. Okay, quickly, I'm just going to go over to here and click on this particular part here. So to select everything, the product key here. So I want to go for my subcategory key as well. The product name we want to keep it. So the next thing now is to go all the way to a color name as well. Then once we scroll down, we're looking for brand. So we have the brand name here. Then we scroll down now, we can see the unit cost and as well the unit price. We have to actually keep them. So once we are done, just go ahead and click on OK. And you can now see we have just the compressed, table without too much columns that we cannot handle. So what is important is for you to look around and see if there are, some kind of unwanted data types that we have. So make sure you change it. So everything is quite actually okay right here. And I'm going to tell you firsthand that we are done 100%. But one thing I always love to do from here is to actually go ahead and click on enter data, right? So this will help us to create a table that we can actually store our DAX in. So over here, I'm going to click on DAX room. You can name it anything you like. I just love to add funny names sometimes. Okay, as you can see, this particular table is 100% blank. There is nothing inside it. And we are ready to actually get into Power BI Desktop and create our relationships. So make sure you click over close and apply here. As you can see, over here, our tables have been loaded in. So let us quickly go to the relationship view here. Now, as you can see, automatically Power BI has actually done our relationships for us, but everything is not 100% correct. And that was because inside this particular table, we should have a particular column that actually specify this particular key right here. Then we can actually have, connection between these and as well this very one right here. So now we don't have it, so which means we have to go back to Power Query and have this fixed. That is the only error we have made. Let us quickly go over to here, and now let me collapse this one. Now we can go into here and step into transform data. So we are back here. We are going to click on this subcategory here. So once we are here now, we removed some couple of columns from here. I can click over this particular part. Now what we want now is the category key. Here is it. Can you see it now? So if I click on OK and go ahead and reload this back to Power BI, I think we should have our connection done for us 100%. Let's see that. So now let's just step into here. As you can see, it has been done because we have the right, column imputed right here. So if you look at this right now, this is what we call disconnected table. It has no relationship with any tables. So it's going to be a standalone right here. Okay, the next thing we have to do right now is quickly build a particular table called date table. So I'm just going to click on this particular new table right here. So over here, I have my, dates already in here. So all we have to look for is to make sure we match this with the right, column from our transactional data. So I'm just going to click and highlight this part, put transaction and get in the date from here. Do the same thing for this particular one and type in transaction and get in the date. And that is all we have to do to fix this. And once I hit my enter, it's going to generate all the columns that I have inside this particular code for me. Can you see this right now? So once we are done from here now, we can go into here again. And let's see if this has been done for us again. Now, this time around, Power BI does not really answer us. So we have to do it all by ourselves. Okay, I can reduce this particular part here to see this better. So once I've done that, I can just go ahead and drag this and put it on top of this. That is going to be one-to-many relationship. Can you see it now? So when we talk about one-to-many relationship and many-to-one relationship, it has to do with where you actually drag a particular, column from to drop on the other. If I drag from here now, it's going to give me many-to-many relationship. What is it telling me? Yeah, so dates should be dropped on this one. Okay, many-to-one relationship. So look at it. This is my many side. This is my one side. Dragging from here gives me one-to-many. From here, many-to-one. So if I mistakenly drop this right here right now, it's giving me an error. And if I go ahead and actually accept this now, it's going to give me an error in my calculations because I am using many-to-many relationship. And what I've done here is wrong. This is date and this is actually days, like 1 to 31. And this is crazy. So how can we fix this if we made this particular mistake? So you can actually go over here where it says manage relationships and click on it. So now you can click on which particular relationships you want to manage. So the transactional date with the calendar is what you want to manage. You can actually check over here to actually highlight it and click over here to click on edit, right? It takes us time to get here, right? Let's go ahead and cancel. And over here now, click on close. Then you can just go ahead and double click this particular part and it opens this part for you straight up. So what you can do now to fix it, if you look at this particular part here, it says date. So here now, this is days, this is date. So days is mapping this one, which is wrong. You have to make sure you choose the correct one. And over here, you need to click on this particular mark relationship as active and click on OK. So this has fixed the error you had the other time. Now we are seeing many-to-one relationship or one-to-many relationships, depends on what you want to call it. So this is all we need to do to actually have our data ready for analysis. The very first measure we need to create is actually total revenue. That is where our base, dashboard is going to be right on. So what we can do now is to come over to DAX room right here and create a measure right inside it. But before then, let's quickly go over to the table view and take a look at what we have inside the product table. If you look at it right now, if I scroll a little bit right here now, inside here we have the unit cost and we have the unit price of each products, right? Now, inside the transactional table, we have the quantity sold or sales quantity. You can rename it to whatever you like. This one is called sales quantity. You can just go over here and take off the sales out of it, just have quantity right in here. And this is exactly what you're going to have. So which means we're going to be using this particular table and the product table to create our revenue. So when you actually have this in mind, you should know the function that will work with this right now, which is SUMX, and as well the related function will do the magic. So let's go back over here right now, and inside the DAX room, right click and go ahead and create new measure. Another way to get here is by using this particular calculation and click on this particular one right here. It will definitely do the magic for you. Okay, our measure is here. To actually, zoom in and out, hold your control key down, your plus and minus sign will actually do this for you. So now we can actually do this to be total revenue. So for my total revenue, what I need to do is to use the SUMX. You already know that. Then the SUMX, now we have a table called transaction. So we're going to say inside this particular transaction table, we have quantity, right, sitting in here. And we want to actually multiply what? Multiply this particular quantity by the unit price inside our product table. So to do this right now, if I try to actually do price or even units here, is not actually working. So we need to reestablish the connection we have between the transactional data or table with the product tables by using this particular function called related. So with related right now, it's going to go ahead and actually fetch all these particular tables that has relationship with our, transactional table, which is this particular table right in here, right? So once we are done with this now, inside here, we're going to do price. Immediately we type in price, it will suggest a particular column from this particular product table that has that. So once we are done, go ahead and close this, shift enter, close your SUMX, and we have just done creating our first calculation, right? Okay, this is what we want. We are just going to pull this into a card right now to see what exactly we have as value. So what you can see right now is 8.47 billion. This is good, but we don't actually want to actually have it here as what? As this summarized number and as well this card. What we can do is to actually go over to here and choose the new card. This is the new card here. This is what we want to use. So using the new card right now, you can actually expand this out to actually get to see this. So lots of zeros. How do we do this? Let's go over here now. And this time around, we're going to actually make sure we use just 0 in here because we don't want any decimal places right on it. So that is done. But does that solve any problem? No, we still have this to be 8 billion. So what happens at the point? I don't know. Let's check it out. So what I'm going to do right now is to make sure I select this particular card. This time around, it's not the measure issue. We have done the summarization, and as well, we have formatted it using this. This time around is the card issue. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do right now is to click over here and step into the call out values here and make sure this one is selected. Change it to total revenue. So once you have done that, go down a little bit and find this particular auto and choose none. Then it gives you 8.467, billion. This is what we want actually, and we have just gotten it. Okay, now remember, we are trying to create a KPI, and this KPI has to do with showing the last month, revenue and the last year revenue plus the changes, which is month-over-month change and year-over-year change. How do we create that? Is something very simple that you need to know how to actually create it. So let's do it quickly. So over here, the very first thing I'm going to do is to actually go into my calendar and bring in the year. So we want to have the year and we need to have the month. We have a short month as well. Bring in the short month. Make sure you convert everything to a slicer. Just use this particular slicer as a default one to get you what you really want. So I'm going to keep this as well as a slicer and just keep it somewhere around here. This is going to be some kind of something weird. Let's go over here from between. We choose drop down. or we can choose the tile. This gives you this, right? So once you have this now, you can choose any month or any year of your choice from here. So right now we have selected this particular July, and as well we selected 2009. So we need to see the previous month and as well the previous year, and everything will be packed into this particular card to create the kind of visual we really want. So let's do it. So we are actually in here right now. If I right click, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new measure, and to actually have this created, we have different, measures that can help us do this. The first thing I'm going to do right now is to say last month. So with the last month now, we put here lies last month's revenue. So with our equal sign in here, I'm going to do calculate. Calculate function helps us to change the filter context. To get a previous month, we are trying to offset back to 1 month ago or 1 year ago. That means we're changing the context of this particular number we have in here. So to do that now, we bring in the only measure we have created before now. So with my comma, now we can actually, if we are trying to do for month, we can use previous month, but in my own case, I just love to use date add to do it. I don't know why. So previous month will give me what I want. But the difference between previous month and date add and same period last month is that on this one, you can offset by whatever number of months you want. On this one, you are actually being restricted to actually go 1 month. So for that, you can use any one of your choice, depends on what you want to do. Let me just stick to this one. So this one here should actually use date from our calendar table. So with the comma right now, it's asking us for what? For number of interval. I'm going to do -1. So what am I saying? Over here, you can do -3, -4, -5, and any number of your choice, but we are going to default it to 1. So with the comma, we can do this by day, month, quarter, and year. In our own case, it's just month. So go ahead and do this, close, shift, enter, you close this. We have just created for this. The next I'm going to do right now is to Control A and Control C to copy. Now we can hit the enter key and have this formatted just like what we want. Okay. We shouldn't have extra decimal right in it. Remove this. So quickly before we look at what we have done, let's go ahead and add a new measure again. So inside here, paste this one. So instead of us to look at last month, we're going to look at last year revenue. And over here, we're going to do the same thing, but just come here and take this off and choose to look at the year. Once you hit your enter key, this will give you the last year revenue. Okay, we have this now. Formatting it is very important. Make sure you choose this particular $ number formatting. Now over here, you put 0 in it. So the next thing now is to click on this particular card here. So inside the card, we are going to go over to this particular reference label. So once you are here, so you can now drag in the last month in here. You drag in the last year. Sorry, we dropped in the wrong one. This is the last month. Select debit. What did I do? So we put this in, and now we select last month and we drag it in here. Okay, this is last month. So when we did that last month, the next thing we have to do is to bring in the last year and drop it in as well. So we have the two right in here. So we have to reformat this to give us what we want. Go to callout and make sure this one is selected. Scroll the way down to change it to this very, none as well. So we have what to call consistency. If this one is actually not on that particular, summarized way of values, so you have to make sure those one two do not actually give you, depth. So let us actually go over to this part here. So once this is selected, to change anything right now, you have to come over to select label and click on this particular last month. Then you scroll all the way down and you go to value. So once you are here, you scroll down again, you change this one to none. Beautiful. So you have to go back up again and convert this one to last year, and you scroll quickly down and you go to value. So you quickly go over here and you choose this done right here. All right. At this particular spot right now, we need to actually get the month over month change and the year over year change. So whatever we select from here, we're going to be seeing changes based on this. But before we do that, what is going to make a lot of sense is to actually add a dynamic title. Yes, I mean it. So this now does not look good at all. So if you click this and you have this click done, somebody will be looking at total revenue. This person has to come over here to know the month selected and what is the previous month of it. So that is going to be some kind of a bit crazy. So what do? We can actually create what I call dynamic title. Let's go over here, right click and create a new measure. All right, we'll call this one title. So with our title here, we can actually use variable. So what do we do with variable? We're going to store in the month. So what do we store here? Using selected value. So we bring in month and we are using short month. We go with short month. You have this closed. And the next thing we do again is to actually bring in another variable again. So inside this variable, we store in the year. So equals selected value. And we drop in the year. So we close, and this is the first set of measures we need to write. So for a reason, we're going to actually check it one after the other. So if I talk about check, which means we have to write under variable, using underscore again, we're going to actually look at this and say results 1. So for our result 1 now, we want to use the if function to check if underscore this month here is not blank. This means not blank. So the less than and greater than means not. So if it is not blank, what do we need to do? We need to actually return this here. Otherwise, give us just nothing but blank like this. Then go ahead and close for your if, right? So we do the same thing again. We do variable and we say underscore result 2. Then we do equals and we use the if function again to check underscore year. So if the year is not blank again, we want to return the year, right? Otherwise, just give us blank. Go ahead and close this. This is what you have now. Okay. So in the return part right now, what you're going to do is to make sure we actually say return. And under the return, we want to return underscore result 1. So we concatenate, here, then put a dash, this and this, and we concatenate what? Result 2. So it's optional. It depends on which one you want to come first. If you want your month to come first, like July 2005 or 2005 July, no, any one of your choice. So we are done with this right now. We have just created a dynamic title. What is left right now is to add a text to signify what this particular year and month is all about. So which means over here, you put in that ampersand here, and inside double quotes, you type in total revenue, right? Have this closed and hit your enter key. So this has actually created our dynamic title for us. So it is time for we to use this. So we're going to be using this inside here. So click on this and make sure you go over to call out values. So we step down into where it says label. So once you have it open, if I type anything here right now, as you can see, the jargon reflects right here. So we're just going to go ahead and click on FX here. Then make sure the value here is what you select. Then inside this particular DAX room, we want to go for title and you click on OK. So right now, this is what we have. I can just go ahead and bring it up for the time being. I'll make it very, big. Later after all, we can change it and make it fit into what we want. So if you look at it right now, it says February 2008. And if I go for 2009, this, changed. And if I select this changed, right? So what happens if I clear my filter? So I now have dash 2009. So if I click this particular filter, so what we have is just dash. So how do we make this particular dash disappear? Because there is no point in keeping dash when we are just selecting month and we're not selecting, either of this particular year we have right here. It doesn't really make any damn sense. Or still, when we select the year, the dash comes first before the year. So let's see how we can trick it to get it off. So inside here right now, we are back. We are going to actually do inside the return here. I think we can do a variable inside return. Variable. So inside this particular variable, we call it variable just result. Or we can actually name it after what we want. Dash. So this variable dash here, I'm going to store in using the if and. So this if and is logical test, right? We're going to be using two logical tests to actually check if the month is actually not blank and the year is not blank, which means underscore month here. So if it is not blank, so put a comma, then we have satisfied the first logic. Then the second logic right now will be underscore the year is not blank. Then if this is the case, just go ahead and close this. Then you put a comma right in here. If that is the case, give us dash. And once you're done, close for your if, right? So this time around, instead of us to use this particular dash in here right now, we're going to get this off, remove it. I think we have a situation here. So let's see. Okay, what happens is that we can't put our variable in here. Let's cut it off and let's step out here and paste our variable. Everything becomes okay, no error. So sorry for that, I flopped. So now we can actually come in between here now, remove this and put underscore this dash inside here. So once you have done that, go ahead and hit your enter key. This has solved the problem for you. So let us check it out and see if what I just said is true. Now the dash is not here. If I deselect right now, nothing selected, we just have total revenue. If I select my February here, the dash does not come after February before total revenue. And if I now select this particular 2009, we now have February dash 2009, 2008 dash before that. This is exactly what you should be thinking about. How to create it is something very interesting. So looking at what I've done right here right now, it's all about you looking at the logics and how I put everything together to work. You don't have to sit this anywhere to know how to do it. If you know the elementary DAX, you can actually think and come up with something that will actually solve the kind of problem you want to solve. So this particular part here just actually help us to, I'm talking about this very part. This very part here, it only helps us to eliminate the dash when there is no selection from both of the slicers that we have. If there is one slicer clicked on or selected, it will not come up, except if the both of them are up. So what just did that is this particular use of our and right here. If and, check into logics. Very simple, right? So just try it and let's see what you got.